to the computer. Nadia, please, just all you need to do is just put them in the waiting room. That's all it is. Put them in the waiting. If you try to remove, it takes longer. Just click, move to waiting room. You can do that. Okay.
No,
and thank you
I
for
cannot,
alerting. No, I'm
Yeah.
making you a co-host now.
Okay.
So there's Divya, okay. There's Divya, there's Rock, Judy, all the funny names, I'm not letting them in. Okay, thank you so much, Rudy. We've started recording. I apologize. Thank you.
Oh. I don't trust this name. This easy. It's somebody you know.
No, don't just let them in. That's it. Period. There's Jack Dodin. I need to even stop the alerting of.
Yeah, and Nadia, do we know like Timothy, Monica, and Mary who are here?
I know them. I know them.
Okay, I just want to confirm.
I don't blame.
Sorry, guys.
I'm an enterprise coach just like you. I'm here to support.
Hi, guys. Hello, everyone. This is Monica.
Hello, Monica.
Hey, hi. Monica.
That's peace.
Sorry. We have been telling people it's a shame. This is supposed to be for people, but people are sorry.
Hello, everyone. This is Timothy. Nice to meet everyone. Nice to be here.
Hi, Timothy.
Hi, Timothy.
Okay, so do you want me to start from the top?
I think it's better, really. Yes, I think you should start from the start. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, just let me know when you're ready and I'll just kind of go through it, right? We're not going to do any Q&A. We'll just go ahead and go through the presentation.
Yes, yeah? I think we are ready. You can start.
Okay, excellent. All right, cool. All right, cool. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Gupta and I am an enterprise lean agile coach. I started my journey in agility for the past 2 decades. I've been in the field of technology. And I was introduced to the Agile Manifesto about 12 years ago. And once I read the Agile Manifesto, I truly appreciated the values. And I really found that I could bring those principles to my personal and professional life. And having said that, I took my certification as a Scrum Master and then became a Lean Agile coach, and then have been in the field of transformations as well. I've had the honor and privilege to be in transformations globally. I've traveled to close to 12 countries to be able to train people as well as lead transformations. And what I've realized is at the end of the day, it's really about 3 or 4 things that are the most important, which are foundational to any transformation journey. So what I'm really hoping to do in the next 30 minutes here is talk to you a little bit about my successes, my challenges, and everything that I've learned so far when it comes to transformations. I am from North Carolina. I'm a podcaster and a keynote speaker, as well as a diversity, inclusion, and equality champion. I'm also the leader for the Women in Agile Charlotte chapter as well. We created the chapter, opened the chapter as a platform to promote mentorship, empowerment, and of course, advocate for our women and allies. Around 3 years ago, we started with about 30 members, and we are at about 1,200 right now registered. We meet monthly on meetups as well as in person. So please join us if you are ever in the area or if you would like to get more information about Agile and agility. So from my experience, the reason I want to talk about transformation as a journey, as well as the message today is because I've come to realize that a few things, like I mentioned, are key to the transformation mission. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in the next slide. But to truly understand how we need to steer the ship of transformation, I use that analogy because transformations are big. They're big, they are, hairy, they're dirty sometimes. They're anything but fun. It may seem like it, but it's really, important for us and critical for us to understand what transformation journeys are going to look like so that you're able to plan and prepare for them with kind of your eyes wide open, right? So it's really important for you to truly be prepared for transformation. And I've seen successes in my journey as a transformation leader, but I've also seen failures and challenges. And I really want to highlight on the challenges and failures, because what I've realized is across the firms that I've helped at, the failures and the challenges have a theme, have a pattern. So that's what I'll be focusing on today. First and foremost is, what is transformation, right? From a definition perspective. Now, having worked at some of the larger firms in the world, I've come to also appreciate to spend some time on defining your transformation mission. One of the things that I did learn was where you don't have a definition or a strict understanding of what the different facets of how you're going to measure transformation is, where we have seen the most failures. So it's really important, depending on where you sit within the organization, to truly understand what transformation means to you. So whether you are a C-suite executive, whether you are a team leader, or whether you're a developer, it's truly important for you to know what transformation means and how you're going to be able to contribute to the transformation. What your OKRs are, what your KPIs are, and how do you essentially understand the goals of the transformation itself. Having been through transformations, I've tried to categorize my learnings into 3 buckets. One is understanding people. The other is really focusing on the processes that enable your transformation. And third being your tools that you use for successful transformations. Now, the people aspect of change is the least understood and the most critical, in my opinion. We were talking about, certain ways to motivate people. We've talked about how, as leaders, we want to make sure that we enable our people to bring their authentic self to work every single day. I'm truly of the mindset that if we provide a platform for our people to be successful, to find their own personal motivations, they will do well at work. So if you haven't had a chance to really focus on the people aspect of change, I would humbly encourage you to do so. Talk to your developers, talk to your testers, talk to your analysts, talk to your leaders. What inspires them? What motivates them? Why do you think they should be transforming? So giving an example that I was previously giving somebody, if I'm somebody who's been doing a fantastic job for 20 years, right? I've been rocking and rolling. I've been getting my promotions. I've been producing results, right? Why would I want to change? Why would I want to transform? So that's important for you to truly understand what transformation means to you at the individual level. Second is process. Now, process could be frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, SAFe, yes. But you really need to understand your business processes. You really need to understand your organizational processes. In order for you to be better, you need to start with your current state. So if you don't understand your current state, you cannot define what your next target milestone should be in the journey of transformation. So most of the challenges I've seen is when people do not appreciate what they have right now and do not take the time to really articulate their goals and their journey for the transformation. So make sure that you meet people where they're at to be successful when it comes to transformation. Third is tools, right? You can go out there and buy the best tools available, the swankiest, the most fun, but you really need to understand how they're going to fit your purpose, right? What do you need these tools for? You may have a workflow system that works perfectly, so you don't need to invest in a new workflow system. But you may have a ticketing system that does not work well. So maybe you look at that and see if you need to bring another tool that may be able to help you solve that problem. So doing that current state analysis of your people's motivation, the growth mindset of the people, the processes that you have from a business and operation perspective, as well as the tools that you use, is key to truly understanding your journey for transformation. Now, I put this up here in the clouds because a lot of us forget that at the end of the day, we are in the business of providing value, right? That's what we do every single day for our clients. No matter what business you're in, you're always trying to add value or provide value to your end customer. So if you don't have an understanding of what your business value proposition is, you are not going to be successful in really understanding how you're going to transform, what kind of tools you're going to use, what kind of processes you need to improve upon to be able to transform your organization. This is something that I learned, that you have to absolutely create your target state, right? Your milestone, but don't forget about your journey. Meaning, if you're starting from point A to point C, focus on how you get there. Just don't focus on the destination. It's good to have your destination as your true north, right? To really drive you to that point, but you have to have short-term and long-term milestones to be able to get to your ultimate destination. So really take the time in defining your roadmap when it comes to transformation. It could be trainings, it could be setting up coaching practices, it could be refresher courses, it could be starting with one team versus big bang and the whole organization tries to transform. It could be getting a consultant in to help you out with your journey. Whatever it is, make sure that it is incremental and gradual. Always understand that there are going to be hiccups and there are going to be pivots that need to be made. So really focus on your journey when you're looking at your transformation. So kind of pulling the thread on that, you really need to be looking out for these constraints as well as limitations. One being a lack of vision and sponsorship. Many times you'll get into an organization or a firm and there is a message of transformation, but there is a lack of true, how are we going to measure that transformation? What is our goal for that transformation? And who is the person or persons who is sponsoring that transformation? Who is the one who's accountable for it? Now, this is something that I learned personally, where I was brought in as a consultant and lead transformation, but I had no executive sponsor. So it almost felt like I was the one kind of telling the company, the team, the firm to transform without any backing from somebody who had that influential power, who had that political clout within the firm to be able to advocate for the sponsorship for the transformation. So that is something you need to look out for. It's great you have a Scrum Master job. It's great you have a coaching job, but who is ultimately responsible and accountable to be able to make sure that the transformation actually is successful? The second is stakeholder participation as well as decision-making. I've been in many conversations, and I'm sure you have been too, where everybody's sitting there trying to do the right thing, but there is a lack of decision-making. There is a lack of actual stakeholder participation. You need to make sure that the right people are invited to a party, right? And case in point, Zoom gets hacked. We don't have the right people at the party here, right? So we need to make sure that whosoever is at the table making decisions or taking advantage of that transformation journey as well as outcomes, they're the right people in the room. And if they're not the right people, maybe they can tell you who the right people are. So folks who have influence, folks who want to do the right things, who want to do good, as well as who are really willing to pull up their sleeves and get into the weeds, those are the kind of people you need from a transformation perspective. Third is my favorite, right? Lack of training and coaching support. Now, this is not a training. Me coming here is not training you for transformation. Me coming here is talking to you about my successes and my failures as a way for you to get curious so you can go out there and get further trained. I'm a big supporter of formal training. I'm a big supporter and advocate for coaching. What I've seen in my past experience has been you'll go in a class for 2 days. You'll get trained as a team. You'll learn backlog refinement. You will learn how to do Scrum, how to be a Scrum Master, how to do a daily stand-up. And then after 2 days, you're expected to be agile. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You need to have a coaching model in place. It's almost like playing a sport. You can read the book on the sport, you can learn the rules, but there's certain learnings you get from actually playing that sport, from actually getting, refined and tweaked by your coach, by actually being in that environment where you're allowing folks to make mistakes, learn from them, and then adding coaching on top of that. So a lot of times I've seen where people don't invest in a good coaching model and coaching support. And that's where failures and challenges come in. I also feel that we really need to have some sort of an incentivization for transformation goals, right? Like I said, if I'm somebody who has been successful for 20 years, I'm getting my bonus at the end of the year, I'm getting promoted every 2 years. What is my incentive for transforming? Why should I change the way I think? Why should I change the way I do things? And when I say HR incentivization, it's not always money. It's really going back to what motivates people, whether it's title, whether it's role, whether it's cross-functionality, whether it is leadership opportunities, whether it's training opportunities. You really need to be able to add a benefit for your people and for your firm as a whole when you do reach your transformation goals. Key thing to really understand here is it starts with leaders, right? We need to make sure that our leadership has the right mindset to be able to really drive, encourage, and steer the teams towards outcomes that are successful. These are the few themes that I have realized and noticed and tried to imbibe when I'm in that role as a change leader. It's about really decentralizing decision making, meaning I don't want to be the bottleneck when it comes to decision making. Everything does not need to be routed through me, because let's say I'm out of office, right? Or I am on vacation, on a holiday. You shouldn't be waiting for me to make a decision to make your life easier, to make your work easier. So try to decentralize and create pockets of decision makers, empower your people within your network, right? So it's really important that you lean on your network as well. You may have a few persons who are really good at what they do, whether it's technology, infrastructure, process, business operations. Make sure you have leaders in all of those areas to be able to help you make certain decisions. So you are not the only one making decisions without the full understanding of a business problem. And I think that's where self-organization and cross-functionality come in, right? If you are going to be Miss Know-it-all, how are you going to grow people around you? You have to start by empowering people to let them make their decisions, let them fail, but then give them an opportunity to learn from that as well. And when I say cross-functional, you don't have to be always developing and coding. You should be able to test as well, not your own code, but somebody else's code, right? You should be able to lead your daily stand-up. You should be able to be a servant leader. Don't get stuck in your roles. I always say, don't be married to your roles, be married to your responsibilities. And your responsibility always is to deliver business value. That's it. So if that means you have to be cross-functional and you have to self-organize, you have to share the tribal knowledge, you should absolutely do that. And those are, I feel, key signs for agile leadership. And the strategic vision, right? And having that execution runway, meaning always focus on the goal. Like we talked about, you need to have that vision. If you don't have that vision, you're not going to be successful. But you also need to create your roadmap, your runway for execution. Your runway should have those short-term, long-term milestones, so you're able to show success. So you're able to share that feeling of success with your team members. So it doesn't feel that your goal is so far away and you don't know how you're tracking towards it. So make sure your runway has enough milestones built in. So every time you knock out a milestone, there is a reason for your team to feel empowered. There is a reason for your team to feel motivated. So it's really important from a leadership perspective that you create your roadmap in such a way that it is paved with opportunities for what we call a low-hanging fruit, right? So it doesn't feel like, oh, by the end of 2 years, only then we'll transform. Transformation is a rolling target state. You should be able to transform next week, next month, in a quarter. So make sure you have those strategic outliers laid out. I also feel there are certain skills that agile leadership should have. Now, a lot of these are what I call, they're called soft skills, but I really do feel they are the hard skills, right? Because some of us are not born with them. Some of them have to be intentional about them. Some of us have to really learn from our experiences to be able to, be successful. Empathy for me is number one, right? To be able to put yourself in somebody else's place, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability. Why would I do that? The first reaction as a human being always is that I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to protect the people around me. When you're being empathetic, you kind of let go of those walls around you a little bit. So for me, that's a really hard skill. And honestly, for me, I had to learn that. Being the eldest in my family, I took on certain responsibilities. So I always felt that I had to be in control. But when I started, being in my own transformation journey as a human being, as a person, as a mother, as a spouse, I had to shed some of those walls that I had created around me. And that's where I needed to exercise what I call as intentional empathy, meaning pause, take a step back, reflect before you speak. And with that, I also had to give empowerment. And, I say give, quote unquote, because it's not mine to give, but I had to allow myself to take a back seat so somebody else could feel empowered, and thereby creating that space for psychological safety, right? It is so important for you to create that environment as a leader, because if your people don't feel safe to speak up, they're not going to succeed. Their growth mindset is not going to be enabled. They'll be stuck in a place, and you can't then expect them to transform because they're afraid to speak, or they feel that they will get reprimanded if they bring their true self to work, right? So it's really important for you to enable that environment as an Agile leader. Last but not the least is culture and strategy, right? I'm all about having a strategy to work towards, a plan, a goal, a roadmap. But if your culture at the people level or your culture at the mindset level is not to ask questions, not to get feedback, do as you're told, you're really not allowing your people to succeed. Nobody's going to be able to follow your strategy because sometimes strategy fails. You have to pivot based on your learnings. And if you don't have a culture of failing fast, learning quickly, you're not going to be successful when it comes to Agile leadership. So this is something that I've learned, that transformations are hard, they're sticky, they're messy, right? That you have to be intentional about them. And by that, what I mean is, personally, I've had the pleasure, like I said, of traveling to 12 countries. I went in with my playbook, right? I went in with that secret sauce of, hey, if I've been successful in the UK and Ireland, I'm going to be successful in China, in Japan. And I was wrong. You know why? Because I did not anticipate cultural differences. I did not anticipate people challenges. I did not anticipate organizational differences. So they're hard, they're messy. So you really need to focus on these three aspects. Who are the people who are going to be present in the transformation journey? What kind of products are you working on? Right? I toggled between financial services to asset management, to pure software, to insurance. And each of those products really bring a different flavor to the culture of the organization, to the people supporting those products. So it's really important for you to understand that as well. This is something that I created. If anything, at the end of the call, I want you to take this away. This is kind of my own model for transformation. And like I said, transformations fail for a variety of reasons, right? Focusing on agility has successes. And by that, what I mean is, don't focus on Agile. Don't focus on Scrum, Kanban, SAFe. Focus on being nimble. Focus on pivoting. Focus on flexibility. Those are the key aspects that you need to focus on for your transformations to be successful. So in order for you to do that, you want to assess current state. Why do you want to transform? What is not going well right now that you want to change? Who is your customer? What does that customer journey look like for product? What is the business value you're trying to solve for, right? You need to assess where you're at before you start talking about the journey you're going to take for the milestone you want to achieve. Second is educate. I'm not talking about educating your team members like developers and testers and BAs. Educate your leaders, educate your middle managers, right? It's really important for you to educate your users. That's where your design thinking comes in. That's where your UX comes in. If you don't work with your users on that incremental, iterative value delivery proposition, they're not going to appreciate whether you do Scrum in the background, you do Safe in the background, they don't care. They want to see their product. They want to see value. But you got to educate them as to why you're doing this. Make them a part of the conversation. Make them a part of your transformation mission. And leaders is key. I've seen where, I've educated or trained Scrum Masters, coaches, I've educated developers, testers, BAs. They all want to do it. They all want to do things more fast, better, in collaboration. They don't want to spend weekends releasing code. They want to do it with the switch of a button, right? During your 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 hours. Nobody wants to waste a weekend running releases and deployments. Where I've seen challenges is getting the senior leaders to a room for conversation. They all want transformation. They all want to use the buzzword of agile and agility, but they don't want to spend 4 hours understanding what is needed from them for transformation. There are a few leaders who lead the way, which is amazing. Make them as examples. Tell them to bring their peer group into those conversations, right? It's really important for a developer to see a C-suite executive talking about how they are servant leaders. A Scrum Master is not the only one who needs to be a servant leader, right? I truly believe as a parent, I'm a servant leader to my kids. As a president of a country, you are a servant leader to your citizens. As a doctor, you're a servant leader to your patients. So servant leader as a responsibility is not only for the Scrum Master. So make sure that you educate everybody in your organization as to what transformation is about and how they can participate and really be successful. Third is about adopting and pivoting, right? Whether it is Scrum or Safe or Kanban, whatever it is that you want to use, make sure you have the mindset that you're able to pivot based on need. I'll give you a perfect example. We started with Scrum on a production services team and quickly realized that Scrum is not the best framework to use there. And then we started using Kanban, and that made a lot more sense because our SLAs were like 1 day, 2 day, 1 week. We didn't really have time for sprints, so to speak. And our backlog didn't have enough information for us to vet out or to refine going forward. It was more like on a weekly basis, on a daily basis almost. So be open to change. So when you have a consultant come in and throw a book at you about transformation, make sure you try to see a line in that book which talks about pivoting or revising or reacting, right? Always retro. Make sure that everything that you've been doing, you do have a retrospective on that to see if it's actually working, right? It's really important for you to keep up with your transformation journey iteratively as well. Last but not the least is sustaining. Now, once you feel you have arrived at a place where the flow is going, we are rocking out in terms of business value delivery, right? Our operations look slick, we're good, sustain that. But go back here to assess. Again, like I said, about 10 minutes ago, transformation does not have a target end state. That's why you're constantly transforming. You may have lost all the weight that you were trying to lose, but then start building your muscle, then start to eat healthy, start getting more exercise in. So try to find ways to continuously improve, right? That's what transformation is. If you just move from A to B to C, that's transition. Transformation is you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. You sustain what you have going good, and you keep finding opportunities to improve. And that's where I say that you have to come back to assessment of your current state. Okay. this is something that I actually learned about measure what you treasure. If you can't measure what you're doing, good or bad, you don't know you're succeeding or you're failing. And also focus on progress over perfection. I am a perfectionist. I am an alpha perfectionist. If I'm setting up the table for dinner, trust me, I will move the plate around a couple of times till it's center. If I'm cooking, like I said before, I'm a food blogger. I will make sure that it tastes right. I'm a trainer. All my content needs to be perfect. I mean, you can look at my slides. There's a little bit of perfection or the pursuit of perfection that I try to achieve. What I've realized in transformation is you can't be perfect because we as humans are not perfect. We as organizations are not perfect. We as a culture are not perfect. So I want you to focus on progress. How did we do last month? How are we going to understand what our tasks are for next month? So really understanding your benchmarks. So make sure you have those. You have those measuring points, and that's what you want to treasure. If anything out of this conversation, take this: progress over perfection, right? It's really, really important for you to look at. Absolutely, Mary. Without a focus on culture, it has already failed. And I've seen that personally so many times when we don't put a focus on people. We don't put a focus on the organizational culture. And all of a sudden, we're looking back 3 months and saying, well, why didn't we transform? Because we started from a place of, challenge. We started from a place of, you need to make sure that you truly understand your current state. And we didn't even take the time to do so, right? So it's really important for you to do that. I love the chats. Keep that going. All right, so this is something that I leave with. This is kind of my summary, if you will, of my presentation. Don't forget that your value is the true north of agility. It is not somebody's bonus. It is not somebody's role. It is not somebody's title. It is literally business value. What are you doing to improve the way you deliver value for the customer? That is what your true north should be when it comes to transformation. And when I say customer, it's not always an external customer. Your employees are your customers too, because they choose to work with you, right? You have to focus on your employees and your people. What kind of value proposition are you giving them? So make sure you establish your key value indicators. Make sure you focus on the intention behind it, right? Make sure you understand why you want to do that. What problem are you trying to solve, right? Rather than the solution itself. Measure, like I said, if you don't have a measurement, you don't know if you're successful or not. Move away from the whole red, green, yellow status updates, right? Go to more tangible, fact-based, evidence-based. We made 20% progress in our users, or our users are, attending our sessions month by month by 30%. Like, have those tangible metrics associated with the product that you're trying to build value for. Pivot and redefine value if needed. If anything, the last 2 years has taught us that nothing is given to us, right? You cannot take things for granted. We saw an uptick in the usage of Netflix. We saw an uptick in the usage of Zoom. We saw an uptick of, in usage of food delivery services, grocery services, right? So we've had to, as a culture, as humanity, pivot our behaviors because of the pandemic. I am a mother of 2 kids. All of a sudden, I became a homeschool teacher. I am still the caregiver to the family. I still have to make meals for the family. I still have to take care of your schoolwork, and then I have to be a career woman. So the reason I bring that up is the last 2 years has taught us that nothing is set in stone. We as humanity keep pivoting to the needs and the disruptions that are thrown our way. Our businesses should do the same thing, right? Focusing on progress, not perfection. Like I said, pursuit of perfection is futile. Don't even do that. I've been down that road. It's hard. It will leave you feel a little demotivated. But if you focus on the wins, trust me, your motivation is going to skyrocket. Don't forget internal value. Like I said, internal value meaning my people. How are my people reacting to the changes I am throwing at them, right? Or not reacting. If you have a person who's a rock star and all of a sudden does not speak in meetings anymore, you want to ask the question, why not, right? You want to understand a person's intrinsic motivation. Don't forget that it's not always about the paying client. It's also about the people who are working for you, working with you. And of course, account for risks and assumptions. That's something that we did not do a lot when I started on the Agile journey. We kind of knew that there were risks, but we didn't write them down and we didn't revisit them every time we did a retrospective. You have to talk about those because, like I said here, transformations are hard. They are sticky and they're messy. And firms and organizations go through a period of relaunching transformations every few years as well. And it's not a fault of their own. It's just because that is their way of incrementally changing their mindset of what transformation means to them, right? And that is where we need to come back to this, is having that vision, having that executive sponsorship, having the right people at the table for decision making, and also making sure that we have the right training and coaching support for transformation. So with that, if you are curious to obviously learn more, I welcome you to please engage with me on LinkedIn. My information is available on our meetup link. I do host coaching cohorts. I'm an avid keynote speaker. So if you have any events that you would like for me to come out and speak, if you want to just pick my brain on certain problems you have, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to support you. And with that, back to the organizers. Thank you.
Thanks, Didi. Amazing. And thanks for putting yourself available to support and to just give more. That's really amazing. Again, we have to apologize for all the trouble at the beginning of the presentation, but there are things that were out of our control.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, presented. It's interesting. Our transformation, we need really to think about our people before all, right? Yeah. And I like
Absolutely.
the way you said that even the people working with us, working for us, they are our clients as well. And we
Yes.
really need to put them in. Yeah, very good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, I completely understand everything that happened with Zoom, but that's the reality of the world we live in. And guess what we did? We pivoted, right?
Yes, that's
we pivoted.
true.
We were agile.
Exactly. I'm just concerned if anyone was bumped out because I couldn't let people know enter without knowing them. So that's probably we kept some people out of the presentation. But the good thing is that the recording will be available and people can still learn and pick from this. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great event. I wish you all the success. And of course, I will look for you all on LinkedIn.
Yes, definitely. I think we have connected. If not, we will definitely connect.
Perfect.
And yeah, I don't know if anybody have any questions for Didi.
I will actually send you my LinkedIn right here. So please, yeah, connect with me. I have that's a good question. Can I answer this real quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Sponsor, and I'm going to, I apologize, but I want to make sure I say your name correctly. Is it Olatunde?
Yes, correct, Rudy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the question. I really appreciate it. And that's a great question, right? I think that's where you need to make sure that you have the right stakeholders. So the question in chat is, how do you manage project sponsor mission and vision in line with organizational goals, vision, and mission? So what I've helped organizations do is I've started with the organizational goals, right? Every project that comes in has to be aligned to the organizational goal. And the reason being, if we don't know what we are doing currently and how it's going to meet or enable the organization's vision, you shouldn't be working on that. Even if it is an internal project, you know, how many of us have internal projects, that or refactoring code or updating infrastructure, as simple as that. You need to make sure that it has an alignment to the organizational mission. That is where I challenge you to ask that question. If you're working with a project manager, project sponsor, ask them, sounds like a great idea to do so, but how is it really moving the needle for our organization? And if they and ha and they don't have an answer, you just had them go through their brain to ask that question from their leaders. And that's something that I have seen personally, that connection doesn't happen. We'll go into a silo and start working on a project, but not understanding why we're working on it. That's where you measure what you treasure. Like I mentioned, your KPIs, your OKRs, you need to have them at your project level, but then they need to tie back to your organization level as well. So best way for you to do that would be to make sure when you have a project charter or like a product canvas, if you use that, your goals in your project level should match or align to an overarching mission as well. I love that question.
Thank you, Rudy. Yes, I think you captured it, because it's something that happens a lot in organizations. You find out that the goals and mission of organizations sometimes is not in tandem with what the business sponsor wants to do. So somewhere along the line,
Yes.
as whether Scrum Master or project managers, we need to find a way of merging both together, and which is key in terms of managing your stakeholders. So at the end of the day, you're able to deliver the right value to your organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said it. And in one of the slides, when I talked about lack of vision and sponsorship, your sponsor should be able to come in and say, oh, by the way, we're doing this project at, let's say, a consumer level because the enterprise is doing this bigger project and we need to align to it. If your sponsor is not able to make that distinction, ask them, because most of the times the answer is there. It's a matter of connecting, but then sometimes it is a passion project, which we see as well. We want to do this because, we need to make better money or better revenue for, let's say, consumer, but then how is that moving the needle for the enterprise? So those are the questions. And that's where, the top-down vision also works, where you take the vision of the enterprise and break it down into epics for individual businesses to react to. That is something that I do as an enterprise coach, is come in and really help out with the vision and road mapping. So all that kind of connects back to the enterprise mission as well. I love that question. That's a whole session in its own. Would love to talk to you more about that offline.
Yes, you can continue talking on the Welo space. So we have space for networking. Yes, so you guys can continue the conversation there. I know it is very interesting, and Olatunde does not want, let's really go.
Thank you. This is great. Please connect with me, obviously, on LinkedIn. Thank you for the opportunity, Nadia, Mercy, Mary. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we thank you for the time. Thank you to all. So don't forget, I sent a link in the chat for Welo, continue conversation. And we have every day at 6 p.m., the grand session. Everybody is welcome. I also sent a link. Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Timothy.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.